everybody, and welcome to Papa Spice's Hot Takes with Hans and Harry. How's everybody in internet land doing tonight? Hope you're all doing well. I am Papa Spice here, as always, with my besties, my partners in crime. We got Harry. Harry, how you doing tonight?
You know, Papa, as my mom would always say, sometimes doing okay is good enough. And this week I'm doing all right. We got a fun pod for Shang-Chi, but I'm a little bit in the middle ground right now. I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay.
Okay, well, good to hear you're doing at least all right. That is good enough sometimes. Hans, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Same thing. I started the week a little down, but Steve from Blue's Clues has resurfaced. So thank God, bringing light to this dark world. But yeah, other than that, it's Wednesday. We are again recording Wednesday, halfway through the week. If you're listening to this on Friday, as Daniel Craig says, ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.
Oh my God. I'm so tired of that GIF. I really am.
No, never.
Oh, I know you two are all in on it.
Never will it end. I'll retweet it all the
time. So we are here tonight for another Marvel Roundup. There's so much going on in the MCU. We just have to do a special dive on the comings and goings every couple episodes. So we're back here. We're going to talk Shang-Chi. We're going to talk What If. We're going to talk some of the new trailers that dropped since our last Marvel Roundup. So with that being said, there are heavy spoilers here for Shang-Chi. So if you have not watched it, make sure you go and watch it. Fantastic movie. And then come back and give our pod a listen or a watch. All right. But with that being said, let's dive right in. So Shang-Chi, for me, I love the movie. I think it's definitely a top 15 MCU movie for me, maybe even a top 10. I didn't sit there and actually place it, but I gave it 4 stars on my Letterboxd. Maybe could even go 4.5, but I don't know. What did you guys think?
I'm right in that area where, Harry and I saw it together, and afterwards, I didn't say too much about it because I know I wanted to kind of save some of my thoughts for today. But I did say that in terms of some of the the overall ranking, I my initial reaction was I think top 5, but then I kind of settled in and thought about it, and I'm settling in like that somewhere between like 7 and 9. I think for me it definitely. It hit that top 10. It was good enough to hit the top 10 for me, which is for Marvel movies is, the top 10 of 20 something great movies is really says something. I thought everything about the movie was fantastic. I mean, just my initial reaction was to say top 5, but then I backpedaled a little bit, just relaxed off of I don't say the adrenaline, but just kind of the excitement watching it. I'm like, all right, I'm not going top 5, but I'll go 7 to 9. But it was definitely I think that for an origin story for a character that nobody really knows in the general public, I thought it hit all the right notes of, it did have that old school kind of feel of a Marvel movie in terms of setting up a new character. But yeah, I was all in. I really, I kind of did a lot of looks into see like what kind of comics to read following this. So, that's probably gonna be my next deep dive is Shang-Chi comics. But, yeah, Harry, me and you saw it together. What were your thoughts?
We also saw it with our buddy Tim. I'll save his thoughts for Tim's thoughts. The new podcast dropping at some point, hopefully soon. But he'll
send us a voicemail with them.
Yeah, right. I love it when he does that. He didn't love it. I would say he was definitely on the downward spectrum of it. And I think I met you guys somewhere in the middle. I think I'm kind of closer to Greg's ranking. I ranked it 14th of my Marvel movies, and it's funny when you look because I have it on my Letterboxd. I have it on my Letterboxd account with a list, and it's funny when you do that and you look at your list and you kind of want to place it, and it's like, well, I think it's definitely better than these 5. Then you start kind of nitpicking. I have it ahead of Black Widow, of Ant-Man, of Captain Marvel, but I have it behind Captain America: First Avenger, Doctor Strange. So I kind of have it, in 14 out of 25 sounds. I guess maybe a little low, maybe for some people, and especially it's getting a lot of love. And, I mean, I wanted to mention also the box office numbers. I think it broke the Labor Day record around like 80 million or 79 mil or somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic to see. I mean, especially with the, kind of speculation that was coming out right before the movie with who's the guy in Disney? I should know this as my wife,
Bob
I
Chapek.
got Mickey. Yeah, Chapek. I got Mickey in the background. Bob Chapek had kind of made some comments that, or he thought that they were taken out of place, that, he called it an experiment. So, it's one of those things, especially with Black Widow, where we have, her story finally coming on screen. We have, Shang-Chi coming on screen and having, an Asian, presence, in a film, Asian American, I guess, because that's the comic origin for it. So it's nice to get. I'm always a bigger fan. Will always think a little bit more highly, when things like that are done, because listen, we've been, the movies have been around forever, and not to dive too far off topic, but it's like, white guy stories have been told, white male stories have been told for many years, and even in the comic books, and superhero films. So I always enjoy, seeing a story that I might not be familiar with, or with, background of, information that I might not be, privy to, or, might be something new for me. So yeah, I ranked it 14th, 3.5 out of 5 stars. So I think I was a little bit below Greg, probably a little bit below Hans, based off of what you guys have been mentioning. But yeah, dug it, but it had its Marvel tropes towards the second half of the film. So yeah, those are my thoughts with it.
For sure. How did we feel about the cast? I mean, personally, I thought it was well cast. I loved all the actors and actresses. Aquafina was very funny, did a great job. Simu Liu, extremely charismatic. I loved him on Kim's Convenience. Tony Leung was fantastic as Wen Wu. I don't know. Hans, how did you feel about the cast?
Other than like the only one I didn't watch Kim's, or was it Kim's Convenience?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I've heard a lot of good things about it. So I haven't seen them. So this is my first kind of
definitely check that out, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's on Netflix, right?
It is. Yeah.
Okay, cool. With Simu Liu, this was my first kind of look of like seeing some of his work. And as far as I know, especially like with the martial arts, that was majority him. Like he was performing the martial arts, which is like great, because I like seeing up and coming martial artists. Like, we saw it with like people like Joe Taslim, Iku Uwis, whoever. I mispronounced his name from the Raid. But I think what I liked best about this is the fact that like most of, there's a lot of like Asian background, like stories, like I'm trying to like mythologies that are like touched on, and they didn't whitewash this, which I feel like previous movies that they have done where they've had like either Asian characters, they were whitewashed with, and just some of the ones that I'm thinking of, and we're going to talk about this, the Mandarin from Iron Man 3, which will come up in this like discussion, and the ancient one from Doctor Strange. Mm-hmm. So I like that they kind of stuck with that, and they kind of kept it. I don't want to say, I trying to think how to say it. I don't know. So I'm just going to skip that. But
well, to your point, I think that they learned from the mistakes of the past, and they also saw, particularly with Captain Marvel and Black Panther, that diversity does sell. So they decided to keep true to the culture.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you for I kind of like knew where I was going, but I was trying to like puzzle together. But and what Chapek said with like the whole experiment comment, like whether or not they were taken out of context, but I feel like the cast, the best thing was their like chemistry together. Like you would think that they've acted in movies together and kind of have known each other for like the longest time, but majority of this cast is fairly young, other than a few of the people. So I feel like a lot of them are up and coming. Aquafina, I've seen her in a few things, but Simu Liu, I think he has like kind of a bright future, and this was a good movie to like kind of put him into, like propel him to hopefully the next level.
Mm-hmm.
I could definitely. I'm sorry, Craig. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say, the same way that like Crazy Rich Asians kind of catapulted Henry Golding, I think that this will do the same for Simu Liu. I think, like you said, people are gonna have eyes on him now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, Greg, you actually mentioned that because I mean, here's the thing. When I first heard about Shang-Chi and I was, interested in the movie, I was wondering, I thought Henry Golding would make a fantastic leading man for it. Now, I think he would make a fantastic leading man as far as maybe personality and charisma, as opposed to actually the, kung fu and action side of it. Because what really drew me in, after you seeing the movie and thinking about it for a while was Simu Liu. He really did a great job with that element of it. Very kind of Jackie Chan-esque with, a lot of the kung fu, and especially fighting in the skyscraper scene, the bus scene. Especially like I said, the first half of the movie comes to mind with that. And I would have thought Henry Golding would be like a star name you could put on the poster. So I'm also kind of interested. I know diving a little bit off of the actors and actresses, but like where like he's going to fit in the universe. Like, is he somebody who they're going to look to be a Steve Rogers type? Or are they going to look to be, an Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. type? Or is it going to be he's kind of more of maybe the Tom Holland type, for it? So that's where I'm thinking, like, if you put Henry Golding in that spot, you could definitely see him not maybe taking a Captain America role, but taking that role of like, higher of in the hierarchy. But I wonder if maybe, and especially with Chadwick's, passing as well, there's kind of a void there. And I'm interested to see how he fits because, again, like Chris said, I didn't watch Kim's Convenience. Definitely want to watch it. Heard a lot of great things about it. And I know you mentioned it before in the pod. So those are my thoughts on at least his role for it. So what do you guys think about, what did you think about Henry Golding? Do you think that would have been interesting to see, or do you think that, I think it would have definitely changed the tone for, where, they place the actor per se.
I don't think he's the right fit for it. I get him as being, and maybe it's because I first saw him in Crazy Rich Asians, but he comes off as like more elitist and upscale. Whereas Simu Liu is like down to earth, and at least in the characters he's portrayed, but also as a person, he's very engaging on Twitter.
That's true.
So I don't know. I think it would have been a different feel. He doesn't have the look for me. Technically, Simu Liu didn't have the same look as Shang-Chi in the original comics, and I know, Tim probably has some qualms with that as well, but we'll have to get him on the pod one day to talk about this. But I just, Simu Liu, like, even though he didn't have the exact same look, he had a look close enough where it translated. But Henry Golding is like taller and lankier, and that's not like Shang-Chi for me. But I mean, I don't know. I just I liked how everything ended up. Hans, how about you?
Yeah. I don't know who this guy is. I've never seen Crazy Rich Asians, and I've never seen what was that just came out, the Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes. Yeah.
So
you're probably better off for that
comment. So I'm just gonna leave that there. So
what was the name of that movie he was in with Emilia Clarke? Do you guys remember that?
Oh, that was
it was like
the
a
love
Christmas
story.
Movie.
Yeah. Last Christmas or something, or
something like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
That's him. All right. So I've seen 3 trailers with him in it, and he looks like he's all right. But
the wife is definitely smitten by Mr. Golding. But anyway, jumping back to Simu Liu. I mean, I thought he was great as far as, being able to do the act, like, because that's an element for me where it's like, there's, when Robert Downey Jr. is doing his action scenes, there's a helmet usually in front of him where it's cut where you can't see his face while somebody's spinning or something. So those elements of it for me were really enjoyable. As far as the rest of the cast, Tony Leung, the great Tony Leung. I mean, he's done a lot of Wong Kar-wai movies. I don't know if you guys have ever seen any of them, but the one I saw recently was In the Mood for Love. And that's a really slow burn of a movie, but a really exceptional performance. And, Tony Leung over in, Asia is considered kind of their Clark Gable. And his presence in this movie was definitely pretty incredible. I was surprised at how much he kind of stole, I think, some of the show for me in a way, kind of similar to Black Panther with Michael B. Jordan kind of stealing scenes away, from Chadwick Boseman and from the movie. So definitely a solid Marvel villain, which, my always gripe is that, they always have subpar villains, and that's what kind of pulls some of the films down. But I think they did a really good job of putting Simu Liu in a position to succeed with a lot of, experienced actors. Michelle Yeoh, is obviously, later on in the film. We mentioned Aquafina. Ben Kingsley making his appearances in the film
Yeah.
was just, a little laugh track with that. So I think they got the casting right of, having some newcomers. And I know the sister, I'm drawing a blank on her name right now, but the sister was also a newcomer, and just filling it with top stars. Sorry, I stuttered on stars, but I stuttered on top. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the cast.
You had mentioned a couple times the action.
Yeah,
I had heard from different critics, some of the best action since the Raid. And I was very skeptical of that because the action in the Raid was fantastic. Although this isn't comparing it to the Raid, it's just saying it's
right,
the best
of course,
since then.
yeah.
And I have to agree. I mean, I can't think of any other movie that's had martial arts this good since the Raid. I will say I wish some of the fights were a little longer, like the bus fight and the skyscraper fight. I think had plenty of time, but like the stuff at the end was kind of wishy-washy for me.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wish that there was a little more of it. But overall, I thought the action was fantastic. What did you guys think?
Yeah, to go off of with the Raid. I mean, I praise the Raid. I've said it a million times on the show. But I haven't heard anyone say the best action since the Raid. And like with you just saying that, other than the people who, there was one other movie that I think I compare it to the Raid. Like I think it has a little bit better action, which was The Night Comes for Us. But it's literally the same people that did the Raid, so I'll just include that into the mix. I would have to agree. Like I'm a big fan of like hand-to-hand combat with martial arts movies. You don't see that a lot in the MCU. I mean, you see hand-to-hand stuff with like Captain America, and a lot of it's CGI though. I like practical fights like they did in some of this. The bus fight was phenomenal. I was really like kind of blown away, and I'm glad that they included that so early in the movie, where they didn't do like I feel like in some Marvel movies they do like 25 minutes of like filler and then get to whatever like the first like set piece. I think I came back. I went to go get food and I came back and like this was just starting. I'm like, oh my god, like I missed this. I was like 5 minutes late. I think the end scene was very heavily relied on CGI, and it took away from some of the combat like between Shang-Chi and his father. And I think like once the dragon and the end I don't even know, like demon, I think that kind of took away like some of the opportunities for more practical fights. But I thought the action in it was, in terms of a Marvel movie, like I was like, that isn't like Avengers. I thought it was like phenomenal. Some of the best that I've seen like in this universe. Harry, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, it was just, I mean, as you were talking, I was thinking about, kind of all the Marvel movies. And I think, as far as, using the actors / making the fighting make sense, I would say this is definitely up there, in the top, 3 or 5. Me, I try not to be reactionary. So like the best action since the Raid, I don't know if I could say yes to that, but I mean, there's definitely 2 scenes would definitely be up there as far as, favorite, fighting scenes or, whatever it might be on any list, probably even for this year, or even the last couple of years, given the lack of movies. But yeah, I mean, I always sometimes will default to, I try to be optimistic, but like, I just go to like the last half an hour and just that whole CGI battle with the dragon and the demon and, the flying little, Wizard of Oz monkey type demon things where they're coming out of there. So that really took me out of it, as far as, the film and the fighting. But yeah, the bus scene and the skyscraper scene, like I said, nods to Jackie Chan type, kind of fights. I picture, Rush Hour or, Police Story, as far as, Jackie Chan in a small space, just kind of, trying to fight his way out. So yeah, but yeah, no, definitely fights top tier for sure.
See, it sounds like both you guys maybe had a little umbrage with the dragon and the demon and all that stuff. I actually really enjoyed that. I thought it was very unique. And I love seeing all the mythological creatures. They had the food dragons in there and all that.
Yeah.
But I just wish the fight with his father was more in depth and more hand to hand. Like, you know, if I'm a huge Dragon Ball Z fan. If I wanted to see something Dragon Ball Z-ish, then, you know, I would go see a Dragon Ball Z movie, assuming that they made one. But this, you know, this wasn't that. It just, you know, he had the rings and everything, and there was a little bit of that in the fight. But I wanted to see him, like, just in a traditional kung fu movie style, taking on his father in one last duel to, you know, presumably the death or whatever, which that was a whole other thing too with the character of Wen Wu, his father. You know, he was bad and then he was good and then he was kind of bad, but really he was just being led astray. And, you know, I guess at the very end, as he's getting his soul sucked out of him, he sees the error of his ways. Very strange. But it was kind of like an up and down character arc for him. But like you mentioned, Tony Leung is just a phenomenal actor, so he was kind of able to pull it off.
He has such a presence on screen for all his scenes, like when he walks in with the 10 rings on with young Shang-Chi, and he's just like walking into the bar to go mess everybody up. That was a real, like, whoa, like, you know, he just has such a presence. I don't know how else to describe it. So when you see a movie star, you see, you know they're a movie star, like Brad Pitt or George Clooney, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Greg, sorry, I have a quick question. And during the final fight, did you at any point say, I don't even want to say it because, you know, I don't want to lead it. Did you say when they were explaining kind of the demons or whatever, did you think of the M word at all, of where they were going with that?
Mutants?
No, Mephisto.
Oh, no, but I'll be honest. I think they called the main creature the Dweller in the Deep or something like that. The Dweller in Darkness. I forget, but like I needed to look up after that, or I meant to look up after that to see if that was a creature from Marvel lore, because it sounded familiar, but I'm not super familiar with all of Marvel's like legendary demons and stuff. But no,
I felt
Mephisto
like they
didn't
were
enter.
okay. It popped in my head, and I'm like, I'm not falling for this again. And I'm kind of glad. Like once the big demon came out at the end, I'm like, unless this is him, I don't think it is. So thank God. I was like, I steered away from that very quick, so I didn't get my hopes up.
No, yeah, that would be a strange inclusion to Shang-Chi because they don't really have any crossover.
Okay,
but the score and the soundtrack I loved. I thought both of those were fantastic. I've bumped both of them since I've seen the movie. Went ahead and purchased the soundtrack too. It's tremendous. Lots of I believe not all of the tracks, but almost all of the tracks are by Asian artists.
Awesome.
And it's got a great mix of, you know, hip hop and rap and R&B, just all kinds of stuff. Some mellow stuff, some heart pounding stuff. It's really good. Did the score or the soundtrack stand out for you guys?
For me, it did, but I can't remember like I specifically kind of any of the songs. Like I was all in on the soundtrack when they released the first trailer, because and I don't think that song's even on there. I don't even know what it's called, but it's by, was it Jackson Wang? If that's what, I don't know, but I know it was not in the final movie. But watch the first trailer.
I don't think it's on the soundtrack.
Yeah, which that I honestly like downloaded an audio only of that and was listening to that for like a while. You know, I don't think that was the first thing that stood out to me, like when watching a movie. But I do notice when in movies when like music doesn't really make sense in certain scenes, and I thought like, you know, it fit really well because then they had some you know, like the score, like some of the score, like the Asian score, like for with like the setting, and I thought it would like fit really well. And it kind of did transition well from like actual soundtrack songs to scores, you know, in the right scenes that it was needed in. But I would like to go check out the soundtrack. I'm sure it's available like everywhere now. So I will, it's usually, I think with like Black Panther.
Spotify, my guy.
All right.
For free.
All right, then cool. I think the last soundtrack I actually, other than like actual soundtrack that I bought other than like Into the Spider-Verse was Black Panther. So like that Marvel has a good history of just like some of their soundtracks, or at least superhero soundtracks. So it doesn't bop as much as the Daredevil from 2003 or 4.
God.
You know, that's
For those only listening and not watching, I had a
Ooh.
massive eye roll.
yeah.
Yeah,
Can't get enough Nickelback, can you?
Yes.
you can.
Yeah. But no, it wasn't the first, like I didn't come out of it saying like, how the score is great, but like thinking about it, like I didn't like, it didn't, I don't, it didn't take me out of the movie. Like usually if it does take me out, I'll point it out and say like, I don't think like certain songs fit, but seem good. Tara, what are your thoughts?
It's funny.
Oh,
Well, real quick,
I keep
Harry,
doing that. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It's funny that you mentioned Black Panther because I would equate the soundtrack similar to Black Panther soundtrack. I think if you enjoyed that, you'll really like this.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I didn't listen too much to the soundtrack as of yet. Sometimes I do that at the movies, and sometimes I just don't for whatever reason. But I really did dig the Black Panther soundtrack, so I'll have to check that out. As far as the score, I'll be interested to see. I think about the Marvel universe and their scores, and it's like some jump to me like Captain America's or the Avengers theme, and it's like that's because I probably have watched 7 or 8 movies with that score. So I'll be interested to see as it goes along how the characters kind of score. If we have a Shang-Chi too, or if we have it, as his character grows into other films with it popping in. So, but yeah, those are my thoughts. So gotta dive deep more into it.
Yes, for sure.
Greg, do you know who scored this?
I want to say his name was Noah something. Hang on,
Okay.
let me consult my back computer real quick.
Well, while
we're
you do, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say while I'm looking this up, Hare and Chris, you guys mentioned him earlier, but Ben Kingsley. Let's talk about him. What were your thoughts, Hare?
Yeah, so obviously, in case people didn't notice, his character in this film is a Liverpool fan, and anyone who knows me knows I'm a huge Liverpool fan. So don't think I didn't catch those references, Disney. I did. Real big fan of with that. That really pulled me in. I think Greg, you had mentioned this note off air that if he had been not in the movie, it would have probably moved 10, 15 minutes faster. And it didn't need to be needed. I would agree with that. I think it was just a nice. I think Aquafina's character brought a little bit of humor earlier, and it transitioned to him. For the second half of the film, with kind of carrying the humor element of it. As Aquafina's character, Katie, I think her name was Katie, grows, and becomes a little bit more involved in the plot. And I think she carries that well. So I think his humor was very much needed. For it. So I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was overdone. Thought it was clever, thought it was funny. Enjoyed the Liverpool references, enjoyed him carrying around a Liverpool scarf. So I'll watch that all day. Feel free to include it in any other Marvel movies I'm in. And
score was done by Joel P. West, by the way.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Hans, your thoughts on Ben Kingsley? Sir Ben?
I love them. I love them. I love how they like included it early, that story earlier, when he's explaining like the whole, like how the Mandarin existed in like Iron Man 3, when Will was telling the story about how he's like, I think he said like he was behind it, like he had to do something, like basically got the guy to act like a terrorist. And I think like it was like the best part of that is because he's such like a serious character, Iron Man 3, then he becomes a joke. And then in here, he's just like, there's no like middle ground. Like this guy is like absolutely like bonkers and like crazy. And when he tells the story of why he became an actor, was probably one of the funniest like throwaway lines in MCU, like in MCU history. Like it kind of reminded me of Michael Pena in the Ant-Man movies, where like I think that it hit just right. And I like how he did survive the end battle, so hopefully he'll pop up again. I wouldn't mind that. I think I think from now on, if you include him as maybe like a 5-minute a movie role, like nothing big. I think that's just enough. I understand like people like you if you feel like it was like overdone or he was like on screen too much, like you could take him out of here and put something else in to make them find a route to through the forest, and he didn't really need to be in there. But I think it added like that element where I think a lot of people were trying to. I think it was a good tie-in to the previous MCU movies to kind of say like a lot of people are like, well, Mandarin, like we've heard that name before, like where, like and just to kind of tie it back to 10 years ago, which is I thought it was. I don't say it was genius, but it was definitely cool. I'm glad he was a Liverpool fan for Harry. I'm glad you got that. But I don't think it was too much. I think it was just enough to add because you were getting into that second half of the movie where stakes were going to start like kind of rising and it was going to feel a little more serious. And like Harry said, Aquafina was eventually like getting trained to be an archer. So I think you still needed a little bit of that touch to kind of bring to like the third act.
Yeah, he definitely provided some really, really good moments and humor. And yeah, the Planet of the Apes stuff was just fantastic. There's no denying that. I do feel his character felt a little shoehorned in. And it's like, you had mentioned, I think, we could have done without it and it would have been the movie would have been a little quicker paced. But that being said, it wasn't the worst thing and he did an amazing job again with the role. So it is what it is. I can't really complain about it too much because what we got was fantastic.
Yeah. So. And what was his friend's name, his pet's name? I forget.
Was it Morris or Wallace?
Yeah.
Maurice.
It was Maurice maybe.
Maurice,
something, Maurice or Morris.
Something like that.
Somewhere around there.
That was the creepiest looking thing.
Oh,
it was
beautiful,
cute.
Beautiful creature.
How can it be creepy? It has no face.
It looked like a flying butt.
Yeah.
I think that was the joke.
It was a chicken pig, right?
Yeah.
Didn't they call it that?
Just a hairy flying butt.
Yeah.
So, I mentioned that I felt Ben Kingsley felt kind of shoehorned. Speaking of that, how do we feel about Abomination and his 15 seconds of fame?
He should not have been in this movie. Like, and I'm kind of glad that, like, I said this afterwards, like, I'm glad that was his scene. And like watching it in the trailers didn't make me feel as mad anymore. At the fact that they like, I was like kind of the first time I saw it, I'm like, why would they show this? It's kind of a big reveal. And then he was in. I don't even think he said anything. I think he was just there. And then it looked like Wong was taking him back to a prison, maybe, or some kind of cell. Which, if that was it, that's fine. Then I'm not mad that they showed him in the trailer because he added literally nothing at all to the movie, and it was a fun little cameo. Like I think the action, like that scene, that didn't go on for long at all. I think it went on for maybe 45 seconds, like the whole entire scene itself. I think they're setting him up because from what I heard, he's rumored to be in She-Hulk. So I think they were just reeling him back in to be like, hey, remember this guy? Like now he has fins and he still exists. So
fins. I like that.
I think that was it.
Harif, what did you think about Abomination?
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about Spider-Man trailer, later on in the episode. And for me, it's like I try not to get caught in this hype cycle of like, Abomination's in the trailer. Like, what does this mean? There was that whole cycle that went along with that. It's like, why are they showing us this? And it's like, that's pretty much it, guys. So I tried to, it was kind of, again, like Chris was saying, throwaway. So like, it didn't really impact me too much. I mean, yeah, if they tie him in the universe, I think this is Marvel's way of winking and being like, hey, he's still around, or, hey, remember this character from this, again, we talked a little bit about it with Ben Kingsley's character. It's kind of like, hey, the universe is still alive and well. And it's like, okay, like, I don't, sure, throw in things like that for me to be like, oh, did you see that? And it's like, okay, cool. Like, give me a good movie. So I don't think it added or subtracted at all, but definitely felt shoehorned in, like you said.
It was weird to me because normally I'm the type of guy where it's like I don't need a lot of explanation or understanding. Like you show something, I roll with the punches, and I'm cool with it, But like for this, it felt so weird and out of place that it's like, well, why bother with that? I mean, I guess just to show that he's alive. I mean, it will make more sense if Hands, like you mentioned, he's gonna be in She-Hulk or something. But otherwise, if he's not gonna have any further appearances coming up, what was the point? And especially what was the point of showing it in the trailer? Because that could have been a cool little Easter egg for people.
Yeah.
So,
and I feel like they nerfed his character a little bit because like
yeah.
Like you see him go toe to toe with the Hulk, and the last time you see him, and he's like they're like tearing up like downtown New York or somewhere wherever they're at, and like he's a real like a force, like a physical force to be reckoned with, and he punches himself and knocks himself out. Like I understand he's probably got a strong punch, but like Wong just gave him the old like little portal and just finished him off. Which then afterwards he's just fine. Like he doesn't seem like. He seems like going forward, he's like, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope he's not just going to be like a silly side character. I'm kind of hoping that he's going to be like an actual threat later because he just seemed like he was like goofy.
Yeah. Hey, maybe he's just grown. Maybe he's developing. You know, maybe his character's changing. We all grow.
Yeah,
trying to give some rhyme or reason there.
So the movie itself, like I said, really enjoyed it. But I did feel it was a tad long. This is time for Boomer segment again. But yeah, no, I just, movies, I don't have as much free time as I used to watch them. So I appreciate when a movie is kept tighter, and I feel like 15 to 30 minutes probably could have been shaved off of this. Probably more 15, maybe not so much 30, but they definitely could have made it tighter for sure. So I don't know. Did you guys feel it was a little long? Are you in the same boat, or were you happy with the runtime?
Yeah, I'm the same way when I looked at the length of the movie. I think I might have looked at it while we were, or maybe like before, and I'm like, oh my God, it was like 2:17. I'm like, come on, like including like 20 minutes of trailers. I'm like, oh, but I think they could have taken some of it off. Like they could have shaved a few minutes off. I think they could have, as cool of a scene as it was, like his sister's fight ring. I think you could have taken that out and included her in a little another way. You could have still included like that fight like on the side of the building, somewhere else. But I think that whole thing went a little bit too long. So,
yeah.
I mean, okay, boomers. Yeah, I think it's I think it's fine. I think it's, as far as some of the other Marvel movies, that run, I mean, and looking at No Time to Die, which, hopefully we'll discuss on this pod, that's 2 hours and 45 minutes, not including trailers. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, so Hands might be out on that. Maybe we won't be talking about it. But I didn't think it was. I think again, for me, sometimes these Marvel movies, drag in the second half. I mean, again, the great villain with Tony Leung, and well done story, but I think they do tend to drag with once it gets to the CGI fest towards the end. So that was the only part that I felt could have been different. But that's what they do with their movies. So, but no, I thought it was fine. 2:15. Let's get a 3-hour movie in here. Let's do it, guys. Come on.
No, I think like Endgame, Avengers, like those big tentpole movies. Yeah. I'm okay with them being like Endgame. I would have been fine if it was 4 hours long, and I'm not like exaggerating. Yeah, I'd be all right with that. Spider-Man better be 3.5 hours long. With
get out of here with that. No way.
Well, when you got 6 villains,
yeah,
they'll shoehorn those villains in. Don't you worry.
That could be 3.5 hours long. I don't care, but like. I think with Shang-Chi, I think it could. The fact that they're introducing the character, I think they could have taken a few minutes off. But what's 15 minutes? I'm honestly gonna come home and just play PlayStation or sit on my phone for 15 minutes. So whatever.
I can't wait for the Never Have I Ever Seen pod where I give Chris a 3.5 hour movie to watch to talk about.
It better not be like Midsommar. It's like 4 hours, like director's cut.
Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't there like a movie about Che Guevara that was like 10 hours or something?
Oh yeah. I think it's a Steven Soderbergh. I think did that Che with Benicio, right? Yeah, I think it's like a 2-part movie. It's on Criterion. Shout out Criterion every time. I think it's like a 3.5 hour, like each part. It's like a 7-hour type thing. So
oh my god,
there's our next pick.
Yeah, there we go. Good luck, Hans. Find the time.
That's gonna
I'll
take
watch
me
your
like
son.
no. We're gonna have to plan to do that in like December, and I'll start now.
There you go.
So before I get to notes on the post-credit scenes, that's pretty much all I had. Harry, do you have any additional notes for Shang-Chi you wanted to discuss?
I got to be honest. I know it's kind of referenced a little bit, as the 10 rings, but I didn't really remember it from Iron Man. And I looked back and I didn't realize that the last Iron Man movie was 2008. So 13 years ago. So that was...
No, that was the first Iron Man movie.
Yeah, it was 2013, 8 years ago. Sorry.
Right.
My bad on the timing there. But so that's been 8 years. And so 10 rings, sure. Forgot. Like I remember obviously the Mandarin character, but the 10 rings and like the seedy underbelly of it. Didn't really remember that. I also really enjoyed I didn't really enjoy it, but I enjoyed a part of it. Ta Lo, where they go. It really felt like Pandora. Chris, what was the comment you made when we were leaving?
It was like the scene from Kong vs. Godzilla when they go to the Middle Earth or whatever. Whatever.
It had a lot of vibes of those. I think it's called Middle Earth.
Hollow Earth.
Hollow Earth. No, I did the
whatever.
same thing. Like Tim corrected me, he said Hollow Earth, but I thought it was Middle Earth. Same thing.
Yeah.
But
So
it felt like when it felt like they were going to like see all these like goofy, crazy creatures, and you're like, oh, like all right, like that's what it felt like.
The one part I did enjoy of it, where it felt very Jurassic Park, where they're driving around in like a Jeep and kind of going through it and looking at all the animals. And I turned to Tim during the movie. I said, "Welcome to Jurassic Park," and we got a nice kick out of that. But yeah, heavy Avatar vibes, even with the final battle with the dragon and the demon kind of fighting and kind of airborne stuff. So Disney's just stealing from their own properties that they own now. So I see you, Disney. I'm on to you. Just give us a nice hand-to-hand fight where where Shang-Chi has to make a moment decision where he has to end his dad's life. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, Craig. But the only other thing I had is I didn't really enjoy Tony Leung dying. I felt like maybe let's shoehorn him in for another movie, or maybe to partner up with somebody. I mean, I know he doesn't have the 10 rings, so he's probably going to age really fast. But yeah, that was an element for me where I was, I don't love it when, I didn't love it when in Black Panther when Michael B. Jordan's character Killmonger dies. So let's keep him in there. Let's find a way. Let's do it.
Yeah, I felt like with Wenwu, they could have had him survive and have a redemption arc. And I do think if they make a Shang-Chi, he'll be back for flashback scenes, and I'll explain why later. But as far as the Ta Lo stuff, like I said, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cool to see all of the mythological creatures, and it's a very beautiful landscape. So
just like Hollow Earth,
yeah. Hans, what did you think?
One of the things that I pointed out on this before, like when we talked about I almost said the Mandarin, the Mandalorian, was what Maurice or Morris, whatever one. I bet he was only included because somehow when I go back to Disney, effect. You're going to see the Baby Yoda effect is you're going to see some hairy butts being sold in the store.
Give us all those plushies.
Yeah, all the plushes. And I liked it. Like, it was very like, I thought the world is cool. Like, but I don't think there was enough. Like, if Ta Lo was like the main setting of the movie, I thought that it would be cool, but like it was only there for the third act, and like a lot of those weird creatures are like you're probably never gonna see again unless Shang-Chi 2 takes place there, which probably won't. It'll probably be somewhere, I don't know. But I mean, it was cool. I honestly forgot all about that until Harry just mentioned it.
I will say there was one thing that really stuck out like a sore thumb for me, and it like really kind of took me out of the movie, and it's just one line. And it's when they first get out of the car and they're conversing with, I guess, the village elder or whatever. And he's like, get back in your car and go. And it's like, how does he know what a car is? Like he's
Oh,
been
yeah.
here for centuries. And like, has he seen a car before? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
when,
do they
when Wu came in, all the vehicles crashed, and it was just Wen Wu that
Yeah.
survived. And that was
Yeah.
even before he got into Talo. So
see? I would have been like I would have been actually more like kind of like if he was a little more specific, like get in your Equinox and go. Like, wait a minute, what?
that you got during Chevy Better
That's
Days
funny.
deal.
Yeah. Like he knew, like no, I thought the whole sequence was cool. Like and I did point like the last battle was like it seemed like such a small scale because it was literally like in a field that I feel like was almost as big as like not like maybe like as small as my backyard. Like there was only I think like 20 people on each side. And once those weird demons come, like whoever said the bird people from the monkey birds or
The
whatever
monkey
they are
people
the
from,
monkey
Wizard of
people
Oz.
from Wizard of Oz, whatever they are. Once they came, like I understand, and it was. I think someone had said when either Tim or Harry said they had to rewatch, like it was a little cornballish with the guy with the sword arm was like, no, I guess we're working together.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
it was
yeah.
a little corny, like I thought like I didn't realize like it is a very small scale, and then like the big dragon Raya comes out, and the last dragon comes out and fights the demon. Like
Disney
I
just
don't
getting
know.
all them properties
Yeah.
in, baby.
Yes.
Disney
Mix them
made
all up.
Raya and the Last Dragon. We're like, wait a minute, wait. We got Aquafina and a dragon. Let's just put them in Shang-Chi. It's the same
Tested
thing.
well. Let's do it again.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm actually really excited. Like I hope we don't have to wait a long time for part 2. I think that they're gonna see the success of this and say, I would say in the next like 3 years, I hope that's on Marvel's slate. Especially since hopefully in about 4 years they have like their next Avengers movie planned, which I don't even know what that's looking like. But I would say like I don't want to wait too long because I think I would like to see like Shang-Chi kind of return in the MCU. But I'm just like I said, I'm hoping by like 2024 we're seeing them again. So
going back to a point that you had, or a question that you had asked much earlier, Harry, was like, where do we see Shang-Chi fit in with like the other Avengers, or what type of role does he take? I see him kind of like as a Spider-Man role where he's kind of like wide-eyed and like, whoa, I'm in this world now of monsters and demons and things of that nature. I don't think he's going to take on like a leadership type role. I think there's other characters already established that could kind of fill that void. But yeah, that's where I see him within the framework of the Avengers. So
yeah, I mean, he'll have plenty of time to grow as a character and as an actor, and just become even better and take that mantle, like you said. Tom Holland will probably be doing that in the next couple of movies.
Before we move on to the post-credit stuff, Hans, did you have anything additional you want to touch on?
No, I think that's it. I think we covered pretty much everything. It was overall, I like I said, I think the more we talk about it, it's moving up closer to like 7 ranking. But
tasty.
We'll see. I definitely want this is like I feel like a lot of Marvel movies I've only seen once and never really went back to, like Guardians 2 and all that. Like this will be another one that I'm actually like excited to watch again. So whenever it drops on Disney Plus, I'll take off that day and just watch it.
It's funny that you say that because I went to see it with Janet, my wife, and she actually loved the movie so much so that she wants to see it again. So we're kind of in the works of making plans to go check it out in IMAX. Yeah, I know.
Nice.
So
at least it'll be in big format for a while because there's nothing really on the slate coming up. So
yeah, unfortunately. All right. Well, what are your thoughts on the post-credit scenes, Hans?
The first one's like very confusing, I think a little bit. I think it's meant to like set up like kind of where the MCU, like I love that they included Wong. I think he's easily becoming like one of my favorite characters. And I actually watched like Doctor Strange, like the second half of Doctor Strange last week. And he really is. He's like that Coulson character that like for like the next stage of the MCU. But I think the big kind of reveal is like for me at least was that Bruce is back in Bruce Banner body. He's not Professor Hulk, which my understanding at the end of Endgame was this was like he was stuck like this forever. So it's cool. Like it's kind of brings the question of how did he get back to Bruce Banner? His arm's still in a sling, so that gauntlet really busted his arm up pretty bad.
Or did they just not want to pay for the extra CGI?
Probably. Well, because they yeah they spent it on animals you'll never see again. In
Curse you, Chapek.
Yeah. They spent it on the Abomination, so they couldn't do more CGI. Captain Marvel's in it. She has long hair again, which so that was cool. I don't like her with short hair. I like her long hair. That's just that.
You haven't even seen the movie. What are you talking about, bro?
I've seen the trailers. I've seen the trailers, and she was in Endgame. I've seen Endgame.
I'm glad you knew it was Captain Marvel. It's very good.
Yeah. But I think that one of the things is like the rings are sending off a signal. I think they're setting up the Eternals. Because the one thing is like I think in the Eternals trailer they say like it's been 1,000 years since we've been here. Wong asks like how long is your dad have the rings? He said 1,000 years. So I think that's like what's going to bring the Eternals back, possibly. I don't know. But I don't think we're going to see any of these characters involved in the Eternals. I hope that that's more of their own standalone story. I hope no other MCU characters are involved there. But it was cool. The second post-credit scene, it kind of makes you wonder, like, is the Ten Rings going to be still going to be like I don't want to say a terrorist organization, but like what are their intentions? Are they going to be like more of like a mercenary group? Or are they going to be like still like full of assassons? Like
it could be like another Hydra,
Right. Yeah. And like, because the sister is good through 99% of the movie. And, is the power getting to her head, realizing that like that I can make the 10 rings more than what my father did. So, but she's doing it all by like practical means. She doesn't have like any magical ability. So, but I thought they were good.
Harry, any thoughts on the post-credit scenes?
Yeah, I mean, the second one, sure. Let me just see what you're planning to do. They're returning. Okay, when? Like, give me,
right.
I'm more of like, I like to deal in like, what's happening where at, is it, returning in Captain America 2, returning in Avengers, like, okay, you're gonna put it in somewhere. So sure, she's running the 10 rings, makes sense. The first scene, I wonder if they're playing a little bit with timelines, here with it. But that would be a heavy swing if that's something they're doing. It could be like you said, Greg, that maybe they didn't want to spend the CGI on it, but Chris did make the point about the non-scene movie that he's seen, Captain Marvel's hair being longer. So I wonder if there's maybe some timeline play in there. But yeah, I mean, I think it's setting up the Eternals. I think the cast list for the Eternals, hopefully there isn't any other Marvel characters, because there's a lot of actors in that movie that I'd love to see get some screen time. But yeah, I think that's probably what they were setting up and talking about, the ancientness of the rings, and maybe that'll play a part in some of the multiverse or in the changing of something. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it makes me excited to watch Eternals in a month and a half. So I'm looking forward to that.
Interesting. So for the second post-credit scene, I'm the same way. It's cool. Looks like there's just going to be another group to contend with in terms of the underworld in the MCU. But as for the first post-credit scene, let me push those glasses up, baby, because here's my nerd theory.
Here we go.
Yes, I think that this is going to lead to the sequel for Shang-Chi. I don't think it has anything to do with the Eternals.
Ooh.
And my reasoning is they indicate in the movie, I'm pretty sure they indicate that the rings are extraterrestrial in origin. And they say that there's a homing beacon, and it's, the rings themselves are super old. In the comics, the Mandarin gets the rings from an alien spacecraft. It's from a race called the McLuhans. And Chris, do you know Fin Fang Foom?
I know. I don't know too much about him, but I know like his existence in the MCU.
Okay,
or not MCU, in Marvel.
These are a race of like 30-foot dragons that walk and talk. They're like an alien species here. And they crash landed to Earth, and the Mandarin stole the rings from their ship. So I think that this homing beacon is actually sending out a signal to them, and the sequel is going to be Shang-Chi and like Fin Fang Foom or whoever, and then we'll get the flashback sequences of when Wu and him actually absconding with the rings from the ship and everything.
I like that take.
So I hope that's where it goes. I don't need a connection with the Eternals. I think the Eternals are going to be fine on their own, but I hope that this plays out the way that I foresee.
Well, my thought process is that in a couple movies we'll have our answer to this, or down the line, like we'll look back and be like, oh, that's why he had his arm in a cast. Oh, that's why she had long hair. Oh, that's what the beacon was for. So
we know why he had an arm in his cast. He snapped his fingers and his arm almost blew up.
Well, yeah,
fair point.
It just never got fixed.
That's why Bruce looks like that. That's why he doesn't look like
he looks old too. Like he aged.
Yeah.
Like he aged like 20 years in 2 movies.
Well, wielding the Infinity Gauntlet will do that for you.
Yeah. Man. He looks like he's 70 now.
All right. Well, that is wrapping up our Shang-Chi discussion. So next up, we're going to move on to What If. Again, there's going to be heavy spoilers here. So if you haven't seen it, go ahead and watch it. But this will not cover the episode that dropped today, which is the Marvel Zombies episode. Instead, this will cover episodes 1 through 4. So my take on What If, it feels a little rushed because it's short form. Every other iteration of MCU that we've seen has been at minimum a 2-hour movie, or 6 1-hour episodes of a TV show or whatever, whereas these are like 30 to 40-minute episodes. And I also think that it's packing it in. It doesn't push the MCU forward, I guess I should say. So it doesn't have quite that same momentum as everything else. These are just side stories and possible alternate realities. It's not like anything that we see here, at least that we're aware of, potentially impacts the MCU. Not necessarily a bad show, but just it's lacking that kind of depth that we've seen in everything else from the MCU. Harry, I know you've only seen 1 episode. What are your thoughts on What If?
Yeah, I'm the hand ratty here. Yeah, I mean, I only watched the Captain Carter one. My wife, I don't know if I mentioned this on a pod previously, or if we mentioned it in talking off pod, but she just wasn't aware of it, wasn't about it, didn't really understand it. And like you said, I think there's that, like, do I need to watch it? And it's like, you probably don't need to watch it. From the vibes I get from you guys and from what I get from the first episode, it kind of feels, I don't want to say like Clone Wars, but like it kind of feels that vibe of like, you could watch the Clone Wars, TV series, or I forget the other names for, Rebels or whatever it is. You could watch those, but like they're not required, reading or watching. But I love the Jeffrey Wright voiceover. Before we get to Chris, I'll pose a question, but shout out to my Westworld heads for Jeffrey Wright. He does a lot of talking in the show, and I got the vibes of that. The Watcher. So it ends with like saying, "I'm the Watcher." Is this a reference to anything that maybe could pop up in the MCU, or is this just something where it's like totally out there?
So we've actually seen the Watchers before. Stan Lee did a cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and he was on the moon with a couple of Watchers.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, they're basically just a race of beings that record all of history across all of different timelines, and they're sworn to never interfere. They can only watch.
They're like peeping toms.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe could be something to play there.
So like the big thing, how this ties in, I'm even getting goosebumps talking about it now, is the first time we ever see a Watcher in Marvel Comics, you get a little bit of this backstory, basically what I just reiterated to you, but Galactus is coming to Earth, and the Watcher actually interferes and warns the Fantastic Four, hey, look, this is bad news. Galactus is coming and Earth's going to be wiped out. So,
interesting.
That particular Watcher goes against his oath. Uatu is his name. So yeah, I think if they roll out with Fantastic Four and they do a sequel where Galactus is in it, maybe the Watcher will play more in there. But other than that, I don't think we'll see too much of them.
Well, yeah, I'll just throw a couple more thoughts out really quick since I've only seen the one episode. I like the animation, nice, easy 30 minutes. I really enjoyed Captain Carter. Like, I think I'm higher on it than probably everybody else was. But I mean, as it drops weekly, I think it does have like, I'd be interested if they dropped it all at once, how people would feel about it. Because my one hope for it is that it kind of becomes like Marvel's Black Mirror, where like there's some you watch and some you really enjoy and are really top notch, and some you watch and it's okay. But I'd be interested to see if they dumped all this at once, what the reaction would be from people for it. Would it be like, oh, did you see the zombie episode? Or, oh, did you see the one with T'Challa being Star-Lord? Like, I feel like there'd be more, dropping it all at once definitely dilutes the conversation a little bit. But I think it would be more beneficial for them, because I think when they dropped the first one, a lot of people were like, okay, we'll see. But again, I like you mentioned, Greg, I don't know if it's required watching, but it's fun. It's nice, easy 30 minutes. If you're looking for a show while you're eating a meal, or, you and the wife only have 30 minutes and you're in the Marvel universe, I think it's a good call.
Hans, what are your thoughts?
I think I've seen more episodes than Harry. I mean, to say your favorite episode is the only one you've seen is kind of an escape.
Got him.
Yeah. Man, so to add on to that point, in my opinion, my least favorite was Captain Carter, which was the only one Harry saw. So
I'm really getting it here. Now I know what it feels like to be Hans.
It's kind of like if you're saying, "Hey, Deuce Bigelow 2 is my favorite because it's the only one I saw."
You skipped one to watch the second one.
Yeah.
Well, he's a European gigolo.
Exactly.
That's true.
So
That's
if you watch, so that's kind of like what it's like.
On.
They're both terrible.
I'm just saying. Listen, if you're going from the critical response from it, it was Captain Carter sucks. And for me, I watched it and I was like, this was actually kind of fun. I had fun with it.
I don't think it sucked. I think that's like kind of a harsh term of putting it. But in terms of the overall show, I like what they're doing. I think it's a cool concept. I think, though, there is a lot of too many what ifs in I think it's not like along the lines of like, let me take the second. Well, first of all, let me take Captain Carter. It's what if Peggy becomes Captain Carter. And then not only that, what if Steve becomes basically Iron Man, and then what if blah blah blah, and it keeps going on. The second episode is chock full of what ifs, because it's not just like what if T'Challa is picked up. It's like, all right, well, what if Thanos is like a good guy now? Like, and it's so weird to see, like, however long it was, like what, and basically the first, like the Infinity Saga was 12-13 years. To see Thanos act the way he does in the second episode is just so like ridiculously goofy. But I liked it, but I feel like they were putting way too many what ifs, and it wasn't necessarily just like what if T'Challa was captured. It's like now there's all these other things that don't necessarily have explanations. They're just happening. Like, why did Thanos stop? I don't know if they explained it, if I missed it. Why did he stop looking for the Infinity Stones? Like, it doesn't like make sense. Like, how did he end up with the Ravagers?
T'Challa convinced him to change his ways. That was the whole point. He was okay. T'Challa is super charismatic, and
see, there's so much going on. There's so much going on in these episodes where like
they move. I
feel like you can miss a lot. Like you can miss a lot to the story, and if you miss like a 2-minute scene, which obviously I did. Like I think they get better as they go along, and I haven't seen today's episode, but I love 3 and 4, which was if the Avengers were basically being killed off. With who was it? Thor, Iron Man, and pretty much all of them except Nick Fury. And Harry, do you want me to spoil it for you? Or are you all right?
No, go ahead, dude. Go ahead.
All right.
Go. Give it to the people.
Spoilers for everyone listening. This was another one where it's just like now you find out who's killing the Avengers is Hank Pym, but he's not wearing an Ant-Man suit. He's wearing the Yellow Jacket suit, which makes absolutely no sense. Why is he wearing the Yellow Jacket suit when he has an Ant-Man suit available?
I feel like we're going to have like a time travel debate like here on this pod. Like, I feel like if you go and change one thing, it could change everything. Like that's the point of
Yeah, but
you know.
I whatever. No. Like I don't want to get
Hands
into
throwing
like
up the white flag.
No, I'm not gonna. I don't want to get into a 2-hour discussion about this because like it just seems like why I want to know like, all right, why is he wearing a yellow jacket suit? Like I understand things could change, like little things, like, but like why are all these goofy things like taking place? And it
like
just doesn't...
I would also be interested, like you're mentioning that. I don't want to we'll see if your head's here with this, but it's like when I was watching Captain Carter, I thought it would be more about the impact of a woman being in the, Captain America role. Like I thought that would have been more of the focus of the what if of like, what if a woman had been in here? How would have things changed?
That's too deep for what if.
Yeah, that's too deep. Exactly.
I'm pretty sure they did like a throwaway line in there where he's like, what did he say? Like a dame coming to rescue us, like the one guy.
Yeah.
And you're just like, all right, like
that's what I thought the what if was going to be about, and it seems like it's a little bit more like, like Chris is saying, like, we changed one thing, and then this means Captain America gets, well, not Captain America, Steve Rogers gets the Iron Man suit earlier. They find a way to shoehorn that in. It
was a model of Iron Man suit that Tony Stark built too. That Tony Stark built in a cave with a box of scraps.
Yeah, that is true. But
I think the Doctor Strange episode I think makes the most sense because Doctor Strange's like world is just like bizarre and freaky like that. Instead of him losing his hands, Christine dies. So he keeps trying to go back, and it had like a lot of feels from the Doctor Strange movie, like when he's fighting Dormammu, and he keeps going back and forth and changing it. And it's very like Groundhog. Actually, Groundhog Day is probably the best thing I can think of. Is where he keeps trying to change something, and then like it just there's like a little like just series of events of him trying to save her, and he can't. Which I think I love that episode. After the 3 was my favorite until today when I watched the 4th one. But it's a cool concept, but I don't think I'm as interested in it as I thought I was going to be. Now, Greg, you brought up a great point with the Watcher and Galactus, like how I want to see this series end. If you want to have like a serious impact on the MCU, because all I hear is the Watcher saying he can't get involved. Like, I get it, man. Like you're just watching like that. He says it 6 times during every episode. He's like, but I can't intervene. Like, yes, we know. We get.
Well, it's got that Twilight feel at the end of it. Like, this has been another chapter in the Twilight Zone.
But this guy reminds you 7 times that he can't intervene.
Right.
I would love it if this series ended, especially with the Fantastic Four, if they kind of like, I guess, start the process of like moving a little bit into the MCU by somewhat saying Galactus is like coming and introducing that possible threat. It probably won't happen because they're not
going to do that in What If. Come on now.
I know I'm not writing for Marvel, and they already announced the next big bad for the next phase. So well, not really, but I'm assuming it's going to be Kang. But I don't think they're going to go to Galactus yet. But I don't know.
We'll keep him in the chamber.
Well,
Papa, we talked a lot about it. What are your thoughts on non-Captain Carter episodes?
Okay, so before I get into that, I just want to say I have basically the opposite feeling of Hands. Like, I like how stuff diverges more as the episodes go. Like with the Captain Carter episode, I felt up to a certain point it was like a 1-for-1 retelling of First Avenger. Sure. And then the third act changes a little bit towards the very end, but the other episodes veer drastically, and I like that. One pebble in the lake causes this ripple of all these different things happening that we couldn't foresee. So I really enjoy that. As far as the episodes go, Captain Carter, least favorite. Sorry, Har. But
it's my favorite.
My most favorite were What If T'Challa was Star-Lord, and it's actually tied with What If Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands. Both of those I love for different reasons. The T'Challa one, it goes Well, first of all, it's very bittersweet because that's one of
Yeah.
I think 2 episodes that Chadwick Boseman did. There were his final episodes, but it really just goes to show like how important that character is, because if you take him out of Wakanda and put him in space, he's still doing the same thing. He's using his charisma and his wits to kind of win people over and change the universe at that rate.
Yeah.
So that was very interesting. They had some cool stuff with Benicio reprising the Collector. I think it was Benicio anyway.
I went to ask you that because it sounded like, I feel like a couple lines sounded like Benicio,
Mhm.
but I feel like overall I'm like, I don't think this is him, but I don't know. Like, I don't think the Collector really sounds like Benicio. That's how like good of an act. Like I think like his voice is like really crazy. So I'm not actually, I'm gonna look it up and see if it wasn't.
Okay. Yeah, let us know. I do know Brolin did Thanos, and it was interesting seeing him play that version of Thanos. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, that and the Doctor Strange episode. Doctor Strange, like Hans mentioned, it's kind of Groundhog Day-ish, but it never gets boring or old. Instead, he's on this quest for ultimate power so that he can turn back time, and in the end, becomes the thing he didn't want to be.
Right.
So yeah, it's good stuff.
Nice.
Third episode, the one with the Avengers that Hans mentioned, also really good. I would say, Harry, yeah, it's not going to shatter any worlds or advance anything forward, but if you're looking for a fun MCU diversion, definitely watch the rest of the episodes because they're worth it.
Yeah, I think I'll put it on the wife's schedule. So
Benicio did do the voice of the Collector.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our what if wrap up. Moving on, we had a couple of trailers drop. We had a new and I believe presumably final trailer for the Eternals, and then the premiere trailer or teaser for Spider-Man No Way Home. Let's kick off with the Eternals first. What did you guys think? Harry, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I know you guys had touched base on it, so I think it was like more for me that I had like not remembered it or seen it. But like you mentioned, I think the final trailer had dropped for it. Hopefully, the final trailer. Yeah, I mean, a lot of actors, as I mentioned earlier: Angelina Jolie, Kumail Nanjiani, Richard Madden, Kit Harington, David Tyree Henry. I'm forgetting the one. I think it's Gemma Yang or Gemma Chang. I forget her name.
Chan.
Anyway,
It's
I'll look
Chan.
it up. Yeah,
Gemma
Chan.
Chan.
Sorry. My apologies to her. So a lot of actors that should hopefully get a lot of screen time. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anybody, but I probably am. Looks pretty cool. My only concern with it is that it could end up being like kind of the second half of Shang-Chi, where it's a little bit too much CGI fighting for my liking. I really am digging kind of the grounded scenes. I think there's a last shot in the trailer where Richard Madden like breaks the IKEA table of Brian Tyree Henry's house. So I'm really kind of looking forward to the kind of those scenes and kind of the world building of it. Because that was kind of my favorite thing with Guardians of the Galaxy. Like they had some cool moments with, but it was kind of the bonding and the team kind of aspect of it. So yeah, nothing too crazy with the trailer. I'm sure a lot of people have seen it, and I'm sure they're wanting to talk more about Spider-Man. So yeah, so those are my thoughts on it. Hans?
I need to say this. The one guy who was in this movie is also in Dunkirk, Barry Keegan or Kogan. I don't know how to say his name.
A24's Scary Darling.
He honestly, I had no idea. When I saw the trailer, I thought that was Ezra Miller, or not? Was it Ezra Miller?
The Flash.
No. Was he in the Yeah, was he in the first the Fantastic Beasts movie? The villain, was he like the bad guy?
I haven't seen either of those.
No, the kid. Are you talking about like the kid?
I don't know.
But
I thought it was Ezra Miller. I don't know. Sorry, I just wanted to. I think Eternals is going to be like, I hope it's like that, like out of left field hit, like Guardians was, because it's such a different movie than previous. And like, I feel like Guardians came out of nowhere where like everything was somewhat grounded other than Thor. And then Guardians comes to take place in literally a whole different galaxy. And I mean, the cast is amazing. I think Angelina Jolie, I don't even think she's like the main like top name in this, which is great. I don't know too much about the Eternals outside of like what I've seen in the trailers. I think Richard Madden's character is very similar to Superman. I think his powers were basically watching like Man of Steel. So I want to see. I really want to dig into that world to see like what exactly they the second trailer explains why they weren't there when Thanos was doing his thing.
Whatever.
But I'm pretty sure the villain is a Celestial. Is that
Well,
what it
it's
looks
like
or
kind of it's a mix of the deviants, which are those creatures that are like overly CGI'd in the trailer, as well
Yeah.
as the celestial. I think
Okay.
that this movie is based on the mid 2000s mini series that Neil Gaiman and John Romita Jr. did. And by the way, to our listeners and you guys as well, if you want to find out about Eternals, highly suggest reading that, because like I said, I think the movie's tied to that. But it's a very quick read, and it'll give you some insight on who the Eternals are.
Yeah, and this feels like, and I've seen the Neil Gaiman what's the Jesus, I can't think of the Showtime show that was on for a little bit. It was based on his
American
book.
Gods.
Like, yeah, this has like that kind of feel to it. Like I can see this being like a Neil Gaiman like type like story. It still doesn't kind of reveal too much, which is good. I think that we didn't know too much about Guardians going into it. We knew very little. Like kind of introduce some of the characters. But I think like some of the things that I think the only, as I thought about it, one of the only MCU things that we're probably going to see that already existed, I think we're going to see a variant of Kang, because he is in basically ruling ancient Egypt at one point, and that's one of his variants. And there are a couple scenes where they're in ancient Egypt like over time. So I think we might see that as maybe a tie into the MCU, but I don't think it's going to go too far outside of their own story, because I think Eternals is going to have a much bigger impact on the MCU, but not necessarily like I think it's going to move the MCU much further forward than instead of telling stories of like what had happened. Like I think this is going to be propel from the Infinity Saga to whatever is going to be the next one.
I didn't even put two and two together with that, but if we get a Ramatut appearance in
Ramatut,
Eternals, yeah, I will kiss you on the cheek.
Thank you. Yeah.
I don't expect it to happen, but that would be freaking awesome if they did that. That'd be really cool.
I think that'll be like the only thing, but I like I said, like I hope this propels. I don't even like need this that like these characters, like I don't know too much about them. I don't need them to be in the future of the MCU, but I hope the overall story kind of like propels where we're going in the fourth phase, because I think a lot of that is, I don't think we really know, like we know what movies are coming out, but we don't really know what direction it's kind of like all moving towards. And it's still early, but I think this is going to be like the first movie to really like kind of set the ground for the next couple of years.
Yeah. My take on this is I think there was definitely one other trailer. There might have been two other trailers prior to this one, but this one was the one that really sold me. Before, it was like the talent involved, Chloe Zhao as the director, and then all the great actors and actresses that Harry mentioned. I was looking forward to it, but like the stuff that I had seen from the trailers hadn't really super impressed me. But this one is like, okay, I get a feel for what this movie is going to be like now, and it's weird, and I'm in for it. Like the only thing that I didn't like was the way the deviants looked. They looked like overly CGI'd, whereas like, give me something practical, like, I don't know. That's just my take on it. Hans, it looked like you wanted to say something.
No, they just look like with how the way the deviants look, they just look like generic, like CGI monsters.
Right.
Like it didn't look like anything was like special about them. Like we may have they look like, honestly, like I think when I was watching them, I think I felt like I've seen them before somewhere, like in the MCU as like a generic,
like the
like
Chitauri.
they didn't look special. Like they just kind of look like a type of monster or whatever, or demon or whatever. But like I would probably, after seeing Shang-Chi, I probably wouldn't be able to distinguish them between the monkey birds or whatever I call them, the flying demons.
But beyond the deviants, I thought the trailer did really well. I'm very interested to see how Kit Harington works in this, because he plays a character called the Black Knight, and to my knowledge anyway, the Black Knight isn't super tied to the Eternals in the Marvel Comics universe. So I don't know how they'll tie it in here. Like, I think he dates one of them, and maybe that's how they go with this. But
happy to see Kit Harington getting work. I mean, I think he got a little
for sure
as Jon Snow, so hopefully he gets to break that a little bit. Richard Madden has done a couple things, but
Yeah, and Harrington had it really rough too after Game of Thrones ended. He kind of spiraled a little bit. So
he
good
came
for him.
out and said, was talking about that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the Eternals, and last up we have maybe the biggest thing, which is the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. So Harry, you did,
dude, you were insane. Like, you were insane when you just shook your head. But
the biggest thing, I listen, it's a trailer. We discussed a movie, and this is the most overhyped piece of garbage I've ever seen in my life.
Ooh.
Now listen,
spicy.
Does the trailer excite me for Spider-Man? Sure. Am I excited for the Spider-Man movie? Yes. But the media circus around this trailer, absolutely trash. Like, Chris was texting and tweeting every 5 minutes, they're dropping it tonight. It's gonna be tonight. And then it was like the next day, or it was like 8:00. Look out, everybody. And like, everybody is clamoring for this trailer, and it's like, yeah, it's fine. Am I wrong here? Hands, I heard you cursing off mic. God.
Yeah, I had to mute. All right. You know, opinions are like what they say are like. Everyone has them, and they all stink. I loved it. That's all I'm gonna say. Like,
of course you did.
And I don't think, like, I guess I can like say, like, with the hype leading up to it is basically, I think it really like, I think because of all the rumors leading up to it is why this was such a big deal to say it. You're crazy. And I think that, like, because like we heard all these casting rumors and nothing was confirmed. And I think it was like, as you know, as a huge, I know you're not the biggest MCU fan, and you're kind of like, you're slowly getting back on board, but you're always like generic MCU, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It was a pretty generic MCU trailer.
Oh my God.
I'll take any Christopher Nolan trailer over this trailer any day.
Oh God. Greg, can you just
Nolan,
take,
bro.
Yeah, just say your thoughts, because I gotta like
Film Nolan, bro, here.
I gotta come up with
check it in.
All right. So
go ahead.
my thoughts on the trailer is, first of all, really good. Was it the best trailer that I've ever seen? No, but at
Absolutely
the same time,
not.
I'm also I'm happy that they saved a lot. I don't want too much to wow me, because I don't want to be spoiled by the movie.
100%.
And I do think that the movie is going to be amazing. Pun intended. Just a couple thoughts on it. You know, feels like the tip of the iceberg. I'm glad that they didn't reveal too much, like I said.
100% agree.
And I'm okay with those minimal reveals, the few that they did have. It was interesting that they chose to reveal Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin. I mean, we don't see him, but we hear the cackle, we see the pumpkin bomb. Interesting choice to loosely adapt One More Day, which was a storyline from the Spider-Man comics here.
Sure.
In the comics, Aunt May gets shot, and Peter, during the course of Civil War, reveals his identity to the world. He goes to Doctor Strange to reverse all this stuff, and Doctor Strange doesn't do it, but he makes a deal with Mephisto, and Mephisto takes away.
More Mephisto talk.
My man.
Yeah, exactly. Mephisto grants the deal, but he also takes away Spider-Man's marriage, because that's like the biggest thing for him. So he's like, oh, I get your one true happiness or whatever. It was very controversial. A lot of people hated it. So it's interesting that they choose to kind of loosely adapt that with this.
Interesting.
Yeah. And the other thing I picked up, which, you know, I don't know if it means anything, but it's like, are Strange's powers on the fritz because he can't control the heat in the Sanctum Sanctorum? Like, what's going on there? Like, you telling me a little.
I wrote a note that something feels weird with him. I mean, the way he's dressed, the way he's talking, just the way he's shot. Like you mentioned his powers. Like, there's just something that feels off about it. I mean, I'm sure when we watch the movie, maybe that'll be off or not, or maybe it'll be like, there is something weird. But yeah, I was definitely picking up vibes with Strange, where it's like something isn't adding up.
Mm-hmm.
What if that's not Strange? If that's someone else.
What if it's Mephisto's cousin?
Mephisto,
who's, like, doing all this stuff. Yeah, cool, awesome.
People are gonna rejoice the day that they introduce Mephisto.
Dude, it's gonna be
Hanratty will. He'll be on.
It's gonna be 10 years from now.
Mephisto's here.
It's gonna be 10 years from now, and I'm gonna be like, I knew it.
Dude, so overhyped. Yeah, I mean, listen, obviously, like we talked a little bit about it after the movie of Shang-Chi, and I was just kind of like, yeah, Doc Ock shows up and like there's the cackle, and it's like, yeah, like the first like minute and a half of the trailer is just recapping what happens after the end of the last Spider-Man movie. Like, we all know what's going to happen. He's going to have to deal with his people knowing his identity. I get it. I just hope that's not an hour and a half of the movie, and then there's another hour and a half of, this multiverse joining or whatever it'll be. So don't want to see a second trailer. Don't want to see, like Greg said, more of the iceberg. Want to keep it, under wraps. Like, you don't really, people are sold. They got their they got what they wanted. They wanted the trailer. So here it is, Chris. I hope you and your heathens are happy.
I mean, I get your excitement, Chris. I don't
get it at all. I don't get it at all.
All right,
I gotta be honest.
First of all,
there was more hype for this trailer than there was for Endgame. Like, I don't understand it. I really don't.
Because I think people were expecting to see not just the Sinister Six, but also the other Spider-Man, and that's why there was so much hype for it.
So sorry,
right? It's not necessarily like, all right. Endgame had 20 movies leading into it, like, and it basically, like, you knew where this story was going. Like, at Infinity War, they left it pretty clear where this story was going to go. Now, the time travel stuff, they left, like, a little bit. But, like, did you like Spider-Man 2? Not the one with Tobey Maguire.
Wait, what's Spider-Man 2? With Doc Ock?
Yeah,
that was with Tobey Maguire. What are you talking about?
No, I meant to say with Tobey Maguire.
Yeah. I enjoy that movie.
Right. So, like, I think the hype comes from the fact that it's like, we're now getting, like, this is the first instance of, like, seeing not just multiverse, but like, you're like, they could have recasted Doc Ock. They could have, like, recast it like Willem Dafoe or something.
Probably,
but like, I think the fact that, like, it's not just them coming back, but you're having three worlds collide, and you're getting the best parts of it, and to see an actual, like, a villain from a different Spider-Man universe, I think is, like, incredible at the fact that, like, we're at that point now. Because I 20 years ago, whenever the first one came out, or second one came, like, whenever, I would have never thought that we would see, like, once I saw Doc Ock die, I was like, well, there he goes. We're not seeing him again. Like, now we're getting all the best parts. Like, we're probably going to get a retcon of Jamie Foxx because, whew.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're not excited for that?
They can recast that one.
Yeah, no. I think if they do it right, I think if it's nothing like Amazing Spider-Man 2, I'm fine with it. That's cool. I hope it's not like Spider-Man 2 because that was terrible. But, like, some of the rumors,
like, says it won't be.
Like Sandman, like he's rumored to come back. Like Lizard, is rumored to come back. Like, I think it's the sixth one is, like, a little up in the air. They don't know who. It's
maybe Vulture,
Vulture or Mysterio or someone. I don't know.
You know what I'll be excited for when I'm sitting in the theater and that happens. If it doesn't happen, it's all speculation.
Right, but whatever, man. Just let me have this.
You can have it. You can have it. I'm just not there.
I wish you were excited. No, 10 years ago, you would be excited about this, but now you're all like, I mean, if I have Criterion movies and I don't like Spider-Man
anymore. Film bro.
Yeah.
Follow me on my letterbox. Thanks.
I watch movies from 1954, but God forbid I watch a Spider-Man movie.
Listen, I'm gonna see it. I'm sure. Like my whole thing is like put me in the chair, in December and let me watch it. Like we could do all the like I don't, I enjoy it for the pod. It's good content, but it's like, all right, we could just speculate until the cows come home about what it could mean, or what this part could mean, or Doctor Strange when he's making all the trains go in a circle. What does this circle look like? It looks like Mephisto's coming. Like we can do all that stuff. Like, sure.
That's not fair.
I'm not buying into the hype cycle. The hype cycle is way too much.
So, all right. Now, I won't talk. Harry, you don't have to answer this because you're
I won't.
obviously
I
not
want Papa to talk.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Me and you went at it like that. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to come at you so hard.
Oh, I feel fine about it. I love you.
Okay, good. All right. Greg,
breaking up.
Do you think this is all but confirmation, no matter what the other two say, that we're gonna see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in this movie?
I do. I saw a tweet, and I don't know how true it is or anything, but the tweet said that this person ran into Tobey Maguire at like a park or whatever, and they asked him if he's going to be in it, and he just kind of coyly smiled, and that was it. Whereas Andrew Garfield is being asked, and he's flat out saying, no, I'm not in it. But I do think that this is confirmation that they're both going to be in it. The mystery to me is I haven't heard any mention of Miles Morales. And in the very beginning, when they were talking about this movie, they were saying, hey, this might be a good way to introduce a live action Miles. So I haven't heard any like speculation of if he's going to be in it or not since then. And I haven't seen any casting stuff. So I really hope that they do take this opportunity to introduce him. I get that, that would be a new Spider-Man versus 3 other established Spider-Man, not versus, but with. But I think it would be a perfect opportunity, and I would be all about that. I think that would be really cool if they did that.
I thought and same thing where like I figured at this point you're already putting 3 Spider-Men in it. Like why just throw a 4th in there? I don't think you're gonna get a look at Miles until the post credits for this one. I think that they're already gonna like unload this movie with pretty much everything, and I don't want to say putting Miles in it over like just like packs even more into it what's going to be an already busy movie, because you still have people like they still haven't shown, like it's rumored that like Matt Murdock's going to be in it, and like these like, and I think the post credit scene would be a great spot because I know they show Feast in the trailer somewhere. If you say at the end
from the animated short.
No. Cute. I understood that reference.
Feast fans? You guys aren't Feast fans?
I do.
Right.
That's one of the best animated shorts that they've done.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did I not get that? Oh man, I didn't get that. So I think if they introduce Feast, but I think you're gonna have like him bump into like Miles later or somehow and be like.
So they actually introduced Feast in the last one.
Okay, all right.
When he shows up at that event and.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
it's in the beginning of the movie. Yeah, that was Feast.
Well, and his uncle's in it. His uncle is in Homecoming, which I did not know that.
Oh yeah. You're right.
Donald Glover.
Donald Glover plays him. Yeah, Danny Glover.
I did not. I had no idea that was even. Oh my God, what's his name?
Uncle Aaron. Prowler.
Uncle Aaron Prowler. Yeah. So I think that's pretty cool. Like if he shows up again in this one, but. Again,
to clarify, like I think that it's the chances that we'll see Miles, at least during the movie proper, are very, very low. But I think there's more of a question for me if he's going to show up than the other two. I'm like 99.9% sure that the other two are going to show up. So I'm not even like concerned about that anymore.
Right. So you're pretty confident.
Yeah.
Harry, what do you think?
About what? About Feast showing up? I'd rather watch the animated short. About Uncle Aaron showing up? I'd rather watch Spider-Man.
Well, he already showed up.
Yeah. Well, guess what?
Homecoming.
Surprise. I just want you to be excited. Like
I'm not gonna lie. I went through this thing with work today, where it described my personality type and how I am, and I keep my expectations pretty much middle ground.
What was there a specific question that asked, what are your thoughts on the No Way Home trailer?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was the baseline to figure out. If
you're
excited.
Very even keeled.
Yeah. They were like, wow, they did some test footage.
Show us, they're gonna show we're gonna show you pictures of celebrities. Give us a 1 to 10 on your interest. It's like
I will.
Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, and he puts a 3 on each of them. They're like, oh, he must not like No Way Home.
I am more excited for the mystery behind it. Like, I'm more excited to see how Doc Ock comes into the world. Obviously it's kind of explained that, Peter wants to do this, change his life, but he can't. I'm more excited for the things that they aren't showing us and aren't telling us than I am for the stuff that they are, confirming that are in there. But I will be more excited on the day. I will be more excited when I get there and the things are happening. I will keep my expectations relatively calm, until then. So sorry.
Fair.
Do we think that since the multiverse is basically like opening up, do we think like these events are being caused by Loki's show or by Doctor Strange or by Wanda? There's
the thing
different,
is,
I guess you call them Nexus events.
Well, the thing is with Loki, we don't know the timeline on Loki yet. I don't think I've seen anything that says when Loki takes place. Other than we
That's
know
fair.
It's right after the Avengers that his variant comes into play.
Well, I guess you see like the branches kind of break out at that point.
Yeah.
So like, does Doctor Strange cause that, or is it?
Could be a mix. Maybe it's a mix.
I think that Doctor Strange's powers are being wonky because of some end result of Wanda. Like, I think she's screwing with the magic on Earth somehow, and that's throwing him off.
Yeah,
that's just my take on it.
No, that's a
and
good
then
shout.
that because then the next movie that comes after this, I believe, is
Multiverse of Madness.
Multiverse,
right?
Yeah.
That's like what, February,
March, I think.
March,
I thought it was March, and then after that, it's
is it Thor?
What's in May? I think Thor, and then Black Panther 2. So interesting.
Yeah. So
I thought Black Panther 2 was 2023. Okay, next year.
Yeah. So they're shooting it now. So
right.
Yeah.
But yes, I think it would tie together since it's leading into that next movie as Wanda. I don't think Loki's gonna have much to do with this.
All right.
Yeah,
that's
anyway.
fair.
Yeah.
Har, I think you should go watch the trailer one more time.
Nah, I'm good, man. Good.
And maybe
I literally watched it and I was like, that was fine. I don't get it.
Dude,
I'm shocked because I didn't think you were gonna watch it.
I forgot I spoiled the beginning. We went to go see Shang-Chi in Dolby. No Spider-Man trailer to be seen.
Dude,
so
I need to write a letter or something because they showed the Eternals trailer, but every other movie they showed was like not a Disney property.
Listen, the movies that literally what they're doing right now is just showing movies that are coming up within the next 2 months to get people to go to theaters. So
I know, but still, I'm just saying.
I know.
It's just
I hear you. Write the letter.
Put Spider-Man on there.
Write the letter about how passionate you are.
Here's a question too.
Adam Aaron's not going to listen.
Here's a question too related to Spider-Man. So at the end of this, are we going to see a definitive break of Spider-Man from the MCU so that he's only in this Sony Spider-Man universe, or is there still going to be connective tissue?
I mean, I think Disney's just going to buy Sony, so I think it'll be fine.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the rumor, but at the same time, we know that this is the end of that partnership deal.
Yeah.
And we also know that Sony has made clear they're definitely doing their own Spider-Man universe. So,
yeah.
I guess I would like to see like Spider-Man and Venom, but I don't want to see them in I don't want to see them in a Sony universe. I want to see them in the MCU. Like, I think that Sony, other than the first two Spider-Man, and I'll even give Spider-Man 3, it's due. It's all right. Like Amazing Spider-Man and all. Like, I think that I think Sony does not know how to handle their property. Like, I think Venom, I saw Venom and I couldn't tell you the first thing. Like, it is very forgettable.
That movie made a ton of money too.
Yeah, it Venom Carnage or Let There Be Carnage.
Yeah,
I saw the trailer for that, and I honestly no. I was ordering food to pre-pick up when that trailer was on, and I looked up to Harry and I was like, I didn't watch a second of that. I didn't even know that was on. And
Woody
I watched
Harrelson, all I've ever wanted is there to be carnage.
Yeah, like it just, and that's like, I don't think they're ever going to be able to develop a good like Venom Carnage, because with these CGI movies, like with Venom and all, they look like I don't know who's fighting who. It's like watching Transformers again. Like I don't know what Venom I should be rooting for, because they both look, and everything's so dark. So a red Carnage looks like a black Venom.
Absolutely terrible. Yeah. Got that Snyderverse effect, your boy.
And didn't Serkis direct this? Andy Serkis?
Yeah,
I think
sure
so.
did.
Yeah.
It looks like,
I mean, what is he directing? Like, it's all CGI garbage, man. I
know, but my point is, I want that dude to succeed, and this does not look like it's it.
Listen. Let's bring back Caesar. Put the suit back on.
Dude, I would kill for another trilogy for that.
Yes,
but yeah, I think Tom Holland belongs in the MCU. Like, he shouldn't go to Sony, because Sony's just going to destroy him and make it just terrible.
Yeah, maybe he'll put in another call where he's like crying on the phone, and Bob Chapek will listen.
Bob Chapek will be like, "How much money can I make out of this?" Get Tom. You know what, dude? That'd be great if Feige was just like, "Look, dude, Tom, just here's a bottle of whiskey, just drink it all, and then call Bob Chapek and see what he says." Because apparently that's the rumor, was Tom drunk dialed.
Yes,
like someone and was like, "Come on, man, you gotta keep me around."
Yeah, it was Bob Iger when he was.
Oh, was it Iger?
Yeah, yeah. So, all right. Well, this conversation's gone off the rails.
As it usually does.
I'm calling it. All right. Anything for the peeps out there, Harry?
Yeah, I was gonna say just a real quick note on Shang-Chi. We didn't talk about the director, Destin Daniel Cretton. He's done 2 films, Short Term 12 in 2013, which is absolutely incredible. It stars Brie Larson and a lot of that guy, or not even that guy, a lot of top performers that I'm forgetting off the top of my head. And Just Mercy in 2019, starring Michael B. Jordan, and Brie Larson's
I've
also in that.
Seen that. So, that was really good.
Yeah. So would highly suggest checking out some of his work if you're unfamiliar. But like, share, subscribe the pod, and appreciate you guys listening. And we'll be back in another 2 weeks with hopefully some exciting content given the film slate that's coming out. So yeah. Thanks for listening.
Hands, anything for the peeps out there?
I realized by the time I was recording, I was actually going to promote something for tomorrow, but that doesn't count because today's Wednesday. I was going to say tomorrow, Thursday, one of my other anticipated movies of the year, other than Dune and Spider-Man, we're getting the Matrix 4 trailer tomorrow at 9 a.m. So if you're listening to this podcast, it's already been out for more than a day. So hopefully you watched it.
What are you doing? Go watch it.
Yeah,
I'm not watching it.
Yeah, I know you are not. I know you're not, because I'm too cool for trailers.
Yeah,
I hope they release.
That's a great impression.
I hope they release a Criterion collection of just trailer movies.
They do. You follow them on
and
Twitter,
you'll watch it.
When they release their new things during every month, they throw out trailers for them. They're really cool.
Yeah. I just want you to watch the Criterion collection of this No Way Home trailer. I'll be happy.
Anything else for the peeps?
No. Thank you for listening to us as we further go, as Greg put it, off the rails.
Yes.
Through our shows. This banter is a lot of fun, so we hope you're enjoying it as much as Harry enjoys me just berating him for dumb things.
All right, well, that's enough of us waxing poetic for the MCU at the time being. Thank you all for listening. As these guys said, please be sure to share, like, subscribe, comment, leave us some feedback on iTunes, all of that good stuff. Let us know what you think on any of the MCU stuff we touched on today, or any other MCU stuff you might be excited about. Other than that, guys, as always, make sure you live spicy.